Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06. Good to hear your voice. And it's good for our voices to be heard. Thanks for letting us in as we ride shotgun with you all through the morning to get you ready to seize the day. Coming up at 8:05, Mark Morgan. Now, he is the former acting commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection during the Trump administration. We're going to get his expert analysis of these two political visits to the border at the same time, same day, simultaneously, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the tale of two different leaders going down to the border. And we'll cover it in great detail at 8:05. I am Larry O'Connor, and I am being distracted by Patrice Onwuka, who I believe, are you popping and locking, Patrice? Is that what's happening?
And I'm doing the wave, too.
All right.
Sorry.
That's all right. I was told that there would be no dancing in this job. That was very specific about it.
It's just a little extra.
Yeah, you are extra, all right. Joining us right now is friend of the program, Margaret Olohan, who also, I don't believe, I could be wrong here, but she's not known for her dancing skills. But she is known as a great reporter at Daily Signal, right. And she joins us now. Margaret, did I sell you short?
Good morning, and no, you didn't. I have no dancing skills.
I got the vibe. You know, I saw you at Amber's wedding. There wasn't a whole lot of dancing going on at Amber Athey's wedding in general, but you definitely were a wallflower. All right, let's get serious. It doesn't get more serious than this. You have this report, and I got to tell you, I feel like I'm sort of plugged in to all of the attacks, the arson, the vandalism, the defacing of statues that has gone on ever since the Dobbs decision in America at U.S. Catholic churches. But even I was astounded when I saw the detailed report that you did earlier this week. Tell us what you learned.
Yes, so unfortunately, there has been 400 attacks on Catholic churches throughout the country since 2020. 400, and we know this because Catholic Vote, this Catholic advocacy organization, has been tracking the attacks, not just on Catholic churches, also on pregnancy centers. But this story specifically focused on the churches. Mm-hmm. And
hold on. So when you add the pregnancy crisis centers, actually the number grows exponentially.
Oh yes, it does.
Oh my gosh.
But I think this in specifically in the churches is worth focusing on, because back in 2020 when this all started, I remember reaching out to former President Donald Trump's campaign and saying, what's going on here? There's all these attacks on Catholic churches. What do you guys think about this? And they issued a very strong statement at the time saying, this is completely unacceptable. There should be no targeting of houses of worship in this way. This is evil. And, you know, that was during a campaign season when our devout Catholic president, Joe Biden, had not yet been elected, and he had nothing to say about the matter and still doesn't.
What?
And these include...
Oh, go ahead, finish.
Well, these attacks include, you know, beheadings of Jesus and Mary statues, graffiti on the walls of churches, satanic, swastikas on gravestones.
Lord have mercy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Horrible, and even burnings of churches all across the country.
Yeah.
Well, now, Mary, this is so interesting because I'm curious to know how many assailants have been found, how many cases have been prosecuted. I would expect that, similar to a lot of the quote unquote racially motivated graffiti attacks against houses of worship or slogans spray painted, racist slogans spray painted, have been investigated and very often found out to be hoaxes. What's the investigation rate? What's the closure rate? What's the arrest rate for what's going on against Catholic churches?
Well, we know that many of these crimes probably should have been prosecuted as hate crimes. Catholic Vote told me that they only found evidence of an arrest in about 25% of the cases that it had tracked. And they estimated that the attacks have caused around $25 million in physical damages to these churches. And I spoke with a couple priests about a year ago, actually, and I was asking them, their churches had specifically been targeted. One of them in New York had been burned very badly. It was very tragic. and he told me that the damage to his church was thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they were still trying to raise money to fix it.
Wow.
But another point on this that I think is really tragic is, we have a Department of Justice that is much more fixated on targeting pro-life activists for praying outside abortion clinics.
That's exactly where I was about to go. I mean, Mary Margaret, you covered extensively the story of FBI raiding the home of Mr. Houck up in Pennsylvania and arresting him. He was acquitted, thank God. The FBI arresting and the DOJ prosecuting individual Catholics who were literally just on their knees praying rosary out in front of abortion clinics. They use the FACE Act. They distort the meaning of the FACE Act to arrest and prosecute people for praying in public, throwing them in jail for 10 years. But Mary Margaret, I mean, these are hate crimes. These are hate crimes against Catholics solely because they're Catholic. And I don't hear anything. Christopher Wray doesn't say a damn thing. Merrick Garland doesn't say a damn thing. And this is obviously 400 incidents. This is obviously a coordinated kind of process. Yeah. Actually, I shouldn't say obviously. Does the reporting bear out that there is some sort of coordination? Are there groups behind this that appear to be coordinating?
Well, based on what I know of these crimes and what we've seen over the past couple of years, it appears that, as we know, Larry, there's always been very strong anti-Catholic sentiment. From the beginning of the Catholic Church, Catholics have faced a lot of persecution and hatred.
Yeah, it sort of goes back to the emperor, if I remember right, but yes.
Yes. Catholics and Christians have been literally burned at the stake and fed to wild animals for their faith. So this is nothing new. But I will say the level of attacks in the United States does betray a very, very strong anti-Catholic sentiment that is also tied to a desire to promote abortion. So in a lot of the cases that we've seen, you'll see on Catholic churches graffiti will say, like, if abortions aren't safe, neither are you. And that's also,
isn't it this group? It's called not Jane's Addiction. That's a
Jane's
Revenge. Is it
yes.
Jane's Revenge? Yeah.
Jane's Revenge is connected to some of these attacks, and we haven't really been able to identify if there are individuals connected with Jane's Revenge doing this. It does seem more like it's a popular sentiment that's with bad groups that has been spreading around the country. Mm-hmm. But the DOJ could be charging these as individuals who are arrested for committing these crimes as people who violated the FACE Act, but they have not charged anyone who has attacked a church with FACE Act charges, and they have not charged anyone. We don't know if they've charged anyone with hate crimes. We're still waiting to find out. But that's something I've been asking and not getting any clarity on.
Well, your great reporting here. One of the things that you highlight is the 400th attack that Catholic Vote recorded, and it has to do with St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. And I think a lot of people saw this grotesque, sacrilegious funeral held by some trans activists. I mean, they showed up in thongs and mini skirts, holding a funeral service for transgender rights, apparently mocking Catholic saints. Can you talk to us about what's going on there and what the state of New York is? The state of New York doing anything either?
No, the state of New York is not doing anything in this case, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it on the show before. It is a very unsettling incident that happened a couple weeks ago when these transgender activists basically tricked the Archdiocese of New York into allowing a funeral to be held for a transgender atheist prostitute that went by the name Cecilia Gentili. And all these activists showed up for the funeral dressed very inappropriately, saying very inappropriate remarks about this deceased prostitute in the church, with signs that had inappropriate language on them. And they got away with this because they did, according to them, they said that they didn't tell the Archdiocese that the funeral was for a transgender person.
Yeah.
And the Archdiocese is saying that they really weren't aware of what was going on. Now, it sounds like they might have known certain details when they weren't willing to.
Yeah, honestly, Mary Margaret,
right
I'm not
thing.
buying it. I mean, any Catholic in America knows that they try getting married to a Lutheran in a Catholic church, and there are so many questions asked before that ceremony takes place. The fact that there were no questions asked here is, if they were stupid, it's an absolute scandal. If they knew what was going on, it's beyond a scandal. But sadly, we got to leave it there. Hunter Biden was on Capitol Hill yesterday. He issued a statement that was frankly full of lies and political in nature and had nothing to do with the actual facts at hand. Also, the goalposts are moved once again. You know how the original word was, I never talked to my son about any of his business, and I never knew anything about what he did, right? And then it was, I was never in business with my son. I never profited in business for my son. Now they're asking questions like, can you show me? I saw a reporter addressing James Comer yesterday in a press conference before the hearing. And the reporter, who was acted like a lunatic, of course, said, can you point to one action made by Joe Biden as vice president that benefited any of Hunter Biden clients? That's not the rule of law here. You don't have to show that a corrupt politician actually did something to help his corrupt cronies who make money from his position. It's just about selling access. But they keep moving the goalposts. And in Hunter Biden's opening statement, he moved the goalposts yet again. Now it's not, my father didn't know, my father wasn't involved, my father wasn't in business. No, he said, I did not involve my father in my business, which is a very interesting choice of words as the facts continue to be brought forth under this hearing. That said, his big excuse, it appears, Patrice, when challenged on some pretty incriminating emails and text messages where he claims that he's working with his father, consulting with his father, in one case sitting next to his father while he demands millions of dollars from a Chinese oligarch. Apparently his defense was, hey, listen, I was high and I was lying. So I mean,
high or drunk, he also said drunk.
Or drunk.
So
I was high or drunk and I was lying.
High, being inebriated or being high is a get out of free jail card. I mean, come on now. Who does he think he's fooling with this stuff? I mean, I actually didn't think he was going to say anything. I assume, given the pending charges he's facing in California and I believe in Delaware. In Delaware, that he was probably just going to plead the fifth. That's what I expected. I didn't expect him to say, oh, yeah, I sent some text messages that seem very incriminating, but it's okay because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was high or I was drunk. Yeah. I mean, he's using him being an addict as an excuse for all of his misdeeds.
Right.
Lots of people are addicts and did a lot of misdeeds, and you know where they are right now, Larry? They're behind bars.
That's right. Not when you've got Biden privilege going for you, though. You're 100% right. By the way, I'm no lawyer, but I'm thinking if I'm cross-examining Hunter Biden, and you say, okay, so let me just be clear. You said that you were lying when you said in your text message that you were sitting next to your father. That is correct. That is a lie. Well, how do I know you're not lying right now? You are currently admitting to us that you are a liar about some pretty important, critical things. What's stopping you from lying at this moment? And, well, really, there's no answer to that. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other Democrats, speaking of liars, they assembled out in front of the hearing room during a recess and said this.
Member Raskin, I think the ranking member stated it completely. What we just witnessed over the last hour was, I think, a deep-sea fishing expedition because the Republican case has completely fallen apart over the last several weeks.
No, it hasn't.
After it's been exposed that the critical, one of their most key pieces of information was based on a source that was in communication with Russian intelligence. They are now trying to scramble to find anything.
Of course, one of the I love this. The Republicans' case is falling apart because one of their key witnesses was in communication with Russian government officials. That witness was a paid FBI informant for 10 years.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So,
and
so
by the way, And that witness was not the sole source of the reason for the impeachment inquiry.
Of course,
maybe one source, but not the sole source or the primary source. So yeah, they're being disingenuous.
This is what they do, and they lie, and they lie. And also in Hunter Biden's opening statement, he said, "Look at these shady, disgusting, slimy liars you have, all lining up and testifying against me and my father." Every single one of the people that he noted are his former business associates. So those sleazy, slimy, lying scum of the earth are people that Hunter was just fine going into business with. Listen, you guys, we report, you decide, but it seems pretty clear exactly what's going on here. It's 7:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36 here on O'Connor Company this Thursday. Listen, we're tracking an officer-involved shooting down in the Navy Yard area near Nats Park. According to our friends at Fox 5 now, it's been confirmed that a housing officer was shot early this morning in the stomach during the 5 o'clock hour. There's a large police presence down there, a barricade situation. I'm seeing some friends of mine who work in the media and in politics who live down there, who were woken up by these events and have been had to evacuate buildings because of this disturbance. Just another example of the horrendous violent crime here in Washington, D.C., and now a police officer is the latest victim, and we will certainly keep that officer and their family in our prayers and give you as many details as we get them as this story unfolds this morning. But just another sign of what we're living through right now in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us here on O'Connor and Company. Hey, coming up at 8:05, we're going to focus on the disaster at our southern border as both the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and the former President and hopefully future President, Donald Trump, will both appear at the border at different places today for political purposes. Mark Morgan at 8:05 will join us to give us his analysis on that. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka.
I almost said
you almost did
Friday,
it, but it's Thursday, not
It's
Friday. Yeah.
No, happy Leap Day. Happy Leap Day. Yes.
Yeah, an extraordinary day, the Leap Day. Only once every 4 years do you get one of these, so don't waste your 29th day of February. Do something special.
Get donuts. Only $2.29 for
Is that right?
dozen.
They're giving away free donuts? Or
at Krispy Kremes. No, $2.29. They're not for free.
$2.29?
Yeah.
Oh, for a dozen.
For a dozen.
Okay, I'm going to say, that sounds like a really expensive donut. $2.29. It's like
Dunkin' Donuts is also giving 4 times the points to rewards members. I've just been doing my homework while we.
Why is Leap Day associated with donuts?
Well,
That's
weird. I don't know, but I'm not mad at it.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to make the connection. But so Marianne Williamson, who is best known for a couple of things. She runs for president now on a regular basis. This is her second time doing it as a Democrat. She also gets vibes from crystals,
She does.
analyzes
That's
people's
right.
auras, and is, I mean, listen, I'm not one to judge, I suppose.
She provides a lot of entertainment. Unfortunately, the media is not giving us much of it. They don't want to cover her at all, so we're not hearing the things that she's saying on the campaign trail.
Well, if you cover her, then the people might get the misconception that Democrats are a little loopy. So... Anyway, she suspended her campaign, if I remember, about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and now,
like
suddenly, she's sort of doing a Ross Perot. She's like, remember when Ross Perot, suspended the campaign and then came back to the campaign? Never mind. It was a CIA plot against me, which, by the way, starts to sound pretty reasonable now that you know what the CIA was involved with at various times. Marianne Williamson has announced yesterday that she's unsuspending her presidential campaign, saying American voters are watching a car crash in slow motion. It's fair to say. I have an important announcement to make. As of today, I am unsuspending my campaign for the presidency, she said in a web video. She says Trump is a fascist. There's a new original line. But she also questioned Joe Biden, his economic agenda, and said that, listen, I was losing the horse race, but there's something more important than a horse race at stake here. We have to respond. Basically said that Biden is vulnerable against Donald Trump. That's why she has to jump back into the fray. And I applaud this. I'm glad she's back in.
Listen, I welcome it. She has said some crazy stuff before, like we should stop following one of the hurricanes, Hurricane Dorian, with our minds because we were driving it. Hey, listen, you need some comedic relief in a campaign.
That's true.
Also, but seriously, you do need someone willing to call out the fact that President Biden is not making for a good candidate, Biden.
I
And
suppose.
Democrats, whether it's from a policy perspective or from a personality and performance perspective, Joe Biden is severely lacking. And she must smell blood in the water to jump back in.
Well, not in any realistic way to actually get the nomination. That's why it's like we need someone to bring sanity to this race. So here comes the rent is too damn high guy. It's like,
where is he, by the way?
Whatever happened to the rent is too damn high guy?
Of all the times to talk about rent being high, this is his spotlight moment.
Absolutely his moment. So welcome back, Marianne Williamson. Meanwhile, Joe Biden dropped everything and flew on Marine One to Walter Reed for a physical exam yesterday. But get this. During the exam, the 81-year-old did not take a cognitive test. The White House says he doesn't need it. He said that this is, I kid you not, the White House said Joe Biden has a cognitive test daily, and you can see the results. And I got to say they're right. We do see the results. And he has failed the daily cognitive test based on his performance. Let's face it.
Exactly. I mean, was anybody really expecting, though, for us to get the results of a cognitive test, if he even had taken one? Yeah. I wasn't holding my breath expecting the White House to release what we all know to be true. Yeah.
His doctor, by the way, instead of facing questions like President Trump's doctors did, instead of actually being fully transparent, the doctor's message after giving him a clean bill of health, I shouldn't say clean bill of health, after clearing him for duty, which is a very different thing. Here's the language. Are you ready? Are you ready? The doctor says he found, quoting now, no new concerns, unquote. In other words, there were a lot of concerns, but we've had these concerns for years now. Nothing new.
But everything else is still there. So, Larry, I feel relieved, don't you?
We've got more on Joe Biden's failing health, as well as he and his counterpart, President Trump, visiting the border. We'll get to that in just a minute. A little bit more on this presidential politics roundup here. Joe Biden is fine. No new concerns, said the doctor. So...
No,
a lot of
new
concerns,
ones.
but nothing
Just
new.
Just the old ones.
Just all the old concerns. He didn't take a cognitive test because he takes that test daily, and the American people see the results. And
those results speak for themselves.
I think he has failed, yeah. Marianne Williamson back in the race. Oh, and then there's the border. So both Joe Biden and Donald Trump will be visiting the southern border today. Of course, I'm sure that Joe Biden will be there to do a victory lap, proclaiming that the border is secure, mission accomplished, 100% success. Where they're visiting is quite interesting, though. So Joe Biden is going to go to Brownsville, Texas. That's the Rio Grande Valley sector. And last year, fiscal year to date 2024. God, look at that. I thought this was an annual number. Excuse me. So far in this fiscal year, which began October 1st, there have been 76,000 illegal crossings there. That's 19,000 a month. So you think, wow, so it's great that Biden's going to the hot spot because that's extraordinary. Nearly 20,000 illegal crossings a month this fiscal year so far. That's a good thing he's going there. Yeah, actually, that's a calm part of the border. That's sort of like, that's nothing. Trump is going to Eagle Pass. In the same time that Brownsville has seen 76,000 illegal crossings, Eagle Pass has seen 169,000 illegal crossings, over 42,000 a month, over twice as
double.
many.
Yeah.
Than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is purposely going to a place that is relatively calm. Donald Trump is going into the belly of the beast.
And by the way, on Fox News earlier this morning, Jay Johnson, former
Secretary of Homeland Security under Barack Obama.
he was on the couch and pretty much kind of giving a shrug of the shoulders to Joe Biden going to Brownsville, saying, oh, well, it used to be a hot spot and there used to be a lot of crossings there, but there's a lot of infrastructure now. And I think we can hope for the best things coming from the president. Yeah, like they are so desperately trying to play cover up for what the Biden administration did, and the overturning of the Trump policies that were actually keeping all of the southern border under some modicum of control.
It's beyond cover up. It is deceitful Potemkin village propaganda that Joseph Stalin would be proud of. Joe Biden is going to the Brownsville area of the crossings, and he's going to echo exactly what Jay Johnson said there, which is, listen, it was really bad here, but I've fixed it. We're solving the problem. It's better now than it used to be. Mission accomplished. Full speed ahead. I'm your man to fix the border. Of course, a border that he claimed wasn't broken until just about 6 weeks ago when focus groups said, yeah, you're underwater on this. Here's a Border Patrol agent talking about the difference between Eagle Pass and Brownsville.
Definitely with the fencing put up, and further down we have the Connex boxes that seem to help, but even still, they still want to just climb over or climb on top of those.
And agents here say that they're dealing with these smugglings on a daily basis. They said that they could catch more migrants crossing here in a day than they can in Brownsville in a week. So that just kind of shows you exactly what the difference is going to be for what Trump and Biden are going to see on the ground. Another live look there, as you can see that migrant now trying to figure out what he's going to do next. He'll be processed and then released, possibly on parole.
Politicians always lie. And Joe Biden has lied better and for longer than most politicians. We know this from his ill-fated 80s attempt to be president, and he was caught plagiarizing Neil Kinnock and multiple lies that every time he reared his head. We know that. But what we're seeing right now, the deceit, the deception, and the flat-out lying propaganda that this White House is putting forward to the American people and the media that assists them in doing it, it is extraordinary. And it gives us certainly something to talk about every single day on O'Connor and Company. It's 7:50.